do you want my money or not? And it's just easier to me. And then it's the same thing with you. Like, hey, you got to pay me in Bitcoin. And now that's an option. That's a valid thing to say to a client. It's great. I get all these texts. I'm like, my money's going up. It's great. And I'm like, yeah, it is. You're going to live a better life. If my money is in Bitcoin, my future is going to be bright. But my purchasing power is going to increase. And I know, at least for the safety of my family, there will be financial safety. When the money is dying and, the people feel it indirectly and directly, having money is a good thing. It makes life a little easier. And when you start seeing things get more expensive, whether you like it or not, it starts affecting your lifestyle. And the hardest thing, which hurts me too, is they don't understand what the solution is. Even if I tell them, Bitcoin is your escape, man.
Before we get started with all the topics and talking points I'm super excited about today, maybe give us some brief overview of who you are and especially why you're excited about Bitcoin.
Yeah, so this is my second time on the show, so pretty excited. It's a privilege, obviously. I'm a sponsor of your show and Coin Vigilante, so I'm the owner of Coin Vigilante, and throughout my journey, I decided to come up with a brand that would speak my passion for Bitcoin, and that is timepieces. Bitcoin watches that are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, and my goal is to push Bitcoin adoption one watch at a time, currently more than 50 countries, and at the end of the day, I'm just someone out there who wants financial sovereignty for people, individuals. That's why I'm into Bitcoin. That's why I'm in this industry.
Awesome. Yeah. And we've talked last time about so many different topics. I remember AI. I remember like the importance of even like small portions of Bitcoin. I think we also talked a little bit about the wealth transfer, but maybe like, is there some topic that kind of stood out to you the past couple of, 8 months or since we talked?
I just think it's funny because we were talking about where Bitcoin will be shaping up into. I mean, right now it's, sitting at around 113,000, got to 123. I think 8 months ago, what was the price? Like, was it like 60? No, not 60, probably 80,000. It was when it was ranging in this very like just boring zone. I don't know, anywhere from like 80 to 60. And, we've pretty much doubled since then. And we have been seeing how every big company now is chasing Bitcoin and adding it to their treasury, right? So many treasury companies now popping up everywhere. And it's just definite that Bitcoin is here to stay and that it is the digital gold that everyone is going after. I mean, there's always going to be other shiny things, maybe a couple of things that overperform in the short term, but like, the rich people and the people that are smart and know where the future is, know that they want to hold Bitcoin as their almost savings account, really.
It's super interesting. Also, like you probably talk with your clients also a lot with like around Bitcoin and how fundamental this is, because I think we want to capture this point. And I always say this on the podcast. It's kind of crazy that what a time to be alive. Like it's such a, if you think about where we come from a monetary standpoint and how long this kind of history shaped out, and then how this Bitcoin thing just started just a couple of years, like 16 years ago, and now where we are heading with this thing, and it will be a very long transition. It's such a profound piece, such a profound time that we are living in, and I don't know, we really want to capture this time in the history, and yeah, I love that we've partnered up. But yeah, it's really interesting how we come from this like nothing to like 16 years. There's some development, and now it seems like I just saw today Harvard is even buying Bitcoin. Have you seen that? It's so crazy because they have. I think like 8 years ago, brought up an article that says like Bitcoin is more likely to hit $100 than 100K, and now it hit 100K, and now they actually bought Bitcoin with the Bitcoin ETF of BlackRock.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see how all these death stories for Bitcoin have just been refuted. I mean, I think what's interesting is seeing have you followed Ray Dalio much at some point?
But yeah, like his theory on those cycles.
It's just his research has been very interesting. That's something that I've been paying attention to, especially looking at how the changing world order happens as fiat money and debt cycles shape up, right? So we're just hitting an unbelievable debt in our system, at least here in the US. I mean, I don't even know where we're at, like 30 plus $1 trillion in debt. And they just keep raising the debt ceiling. And at the end of the day, that is simply more taxes on us. You know, we're paying the interest, right? The taxpayers. And so all you're doing is impoverishing us more and more and more. And you're seeing it, you know, in Ray Dalio's theory, which I'm not a guru about this, but he talks about how cultures and even the way societies react and act normally, they become a little more violent. They become a little more divisive between each other. We're seeing this in the US happen here and there. You know, it starts in little places, it starts in little areas, and then it grows into bigger things. And you know, he talks about when the money is dying and you know the people feel it indirectly and directly. And when you see things more expensive around you, when you see, you know, we have to think about it. Money, as much as people like to say, oh, it's okay, we don't need money, you know, being rich is a bad thing. No, having money is a good thing. It makes life a little easier. Um, and when you start seeing things get more expensive, whether you like it or not, it starts affecting your lifestyle. It starts affecting your decisions. And we're seeing that happen even in one of the best countries in the world, which is the United States. Um, and it's interesting to see how when you're not in the Bitcoin standard or in a standard that protects your purchasing power, you're seeing society slowly destroy itself, quite literally. You're seeing people having to become, what's the word? Just overly risky with their investments, overly risky, right? You know, before you would just be able to hold your money in a bank account and you're getting a percentage on that, and that's fine. Or you hold it in gold and you're getting a nice return. Or the S&P 500. Well, the S&P 500, if you put money in the S&P 500, yeah, it gives you like 8 to 12% yearly, but that is 8%, 7.5 to 8% is basically the rate, the increased rate of the money supply every year on average. And so really you're not even, you know, increasing your purchasing power. You're barely at break even. So if you want to break even and just stay at par with inflation, then sure, S&P 500. But if you want to beat inflation, then you have to jump into Bitcoin, something that, you know, goes up. I forget, what does Michael Saylor say that on average it's going to go in like 35% a year, like if you steadily buy on average, something like that. So it's just interesting how I'm seeing Ray Dalio's connection with what's going on.
Yeah, I think his theory is for the next 21 years, it will go up on average 28%, which would be insane. 28%. And right now we are growing even faster. I think the last year was around 80 to 90% actually.
Yeah.
So that's 3x from what he thinks it will grow. Obviously, we're in a bull market, but people also don't feel like we're in a bull market. But you talked about something interesting where like more money is bad and all, and the mindset around that. How do you think Bitcoin will change our mindset or our relationship with money if it's no longer fiat, but it's then Bitcoin?
Just I start thinking of longer term projects because I know and I have the safety that if my money is in Bitcoin, my future is going to be bright. I know that the power of my purchasing power is going to increase. And I know at least for the safety of my family, there will be financial safety, a cushion for sure. Every time I look at my bank account, which, you know, I think every Bitcoiner is the same. You only have a little bit of couple dollars in the bank account and like everything else is in your wallet, like Bitcoin, like you have nothing in your bank. Anyway, it just worries me because I just know that inflation, and it's not even about Bitcoin going up. Oh, I'm afraid Bitcoin is going to go up. It's not even that. It's quite literally the inflation that's happening and in financial assets in general, and homes, and because that's the important thing. I mean, Sure, food can get expensive here and there, but like if you want to hold your purchasing power, you want to hold it in assets. It makes me want to spend that fiat faster. That's the whole system that we currently live in. Spend it now because it's going to be worth less in the future, right? With Bitcoin, it changes my whole mindset. It's low time preference, you know. I think about longer projects. I know I'm safe. I know I can build for many years. Fiat, I got to keep going. Take on debt because we got to keep, you know, investing in the business, this and that. So it's just interesting how it works. I know that for me, I've grown a lot of peace of mind, and I can see in other people, including family members, including friends, who are either complaining about how expensive things are, about how they can't keep up with their paychecks, about all these things. And the hardest thing, which hurts me too, is they don't understand what the solution is. Even if I tell them, Bitcoin is your escape, man. You know, they think they either missed out because it's too expensive. They think that it's just, they just can't visualize, and they can't comprehend what the solution can bring.
Yeah. Do you think, like, why do you think this is? Like, I go into depth actually on some of the episodes, like why people don't see it. And we actually had right before with after the podcast where we talked about human behavior and the game theory around how someone actually gets into Bitcoin. And we talked about that one professor that wrote that article in Harvard that Bitcoin is more likely to $100. And even now, his employer bought Bitcoin, like Harvard. He's a professor there, and he's now still saying like, no, it's nothing. Like he just didn't see coming that president is going into this worthless kind of a thing, and it's really interesting how ego and the human behavior kind of comes in between seeing something so obvious, and that's kind of the asymmetric beta in it.
I mean, I think. I mean, you've obviously had probably better, deeper conversation about this, but it comes very simple. You know, humans are very simple creatures, and you know, when it comes to, it's all about comfort, and it's all about quite literally taking the orange pill and exiting the matrix. It's so obvious that we live in a system that takes advantage of us, but unless you have this sort of thing click in your brain about like, I want to know more. It's about being humble enough and accepting enough to tell yourself, wait a minute, maybe everything I think about is not right. And maybe everything I do, you know, there might be someone trying to control that above my head that I don't have the power. And most people don't think that way, man, because everyone's happy. Everyone's happy right now. I'm going to just get home. I'm going to watch my football game and I'm good. I'm going to have my couple beers. I'm going to go back to work, and then I'm going to come back and do my, you know, sit in the couch again and then just keep doing it. And it's the same thing over and over again. And it's comfortable. I mean, really, I mean, at the end of the day, they'll probably live an okay life. I mean, but beyond that, they don't know how they're getting taken advantage of in the financial system. They don't know that the education system also doesn't teach you about money. They don't know that, you know, we live in a debt system that is robbing you of your future. And it's because they're okay with it. Like they don't even understand. They don't want to get past that simple-minded, you know, mentality. And I'm not saying I'm better than that or you're better than that or whatever, but you have to have that click. And number one, it has to be humility and acceptance at the core level of human behavior. If you're not humble enough to understand, let me take a step back and look at what's going on. And maybe I'm wrong about some things I'm thinking about. Or let me hear that guy out who's trying to tell me what's better. Let me hear that guy out, right? And accepting, and then going beyond just hearing it. Like you have to absorb it, you know? And sometimes it takes 50 times to hear it, to understand it. And actually, like, you know what? You're right, Carlos. Like, or Robin, you're right. You know, I think I might start putting a little bit of money in. I mean, I just finally got my sisters to start putting money in Bitcoin. Just now. And they're my sisters. I see them like every other day, you know, and it's great. You know, I get all these texts. I'm like, my money's going up. It's great, and I'm like, yeah, it is. You're going to live a better life. And there's a reason why I'm telling you to get in, right? So it's just, I'm sure you've had some conversations, but I think it's humility, acceptance at the core level.
Yeah, it's and you understand marketing very well. So and that's thinking about how we can get Bitcoin to more people, and thinking how Bitcoin actually gets to more people is for me very simple. We need more people that already have Bitcoin to speak up about Bitcoin. I think that's probably the best thing we can possibly do. If you already understand Bitcoin, you're educated on it, like tell your neighbors, start a meetup, like go somewhere to do something. Like not everyone has to like do something huge. You don't have to write a book on Bitcoin to be a Bitcoin educator. You can just like talk about Bitcoin with your sister.
And it takes time, man. I mean, just like you said, it's kind of like marketing. I mean, I think on average it takes like 8 to 10 touch points to try to get someone to convert or start a conversation about buying a product or service, right? So you have to hit people from all directions multiple times. And then the other thing is, I mean, like you said, it just takes time. And I think we're on the early adopter phase still. I really do. The people before, it used to be just a couple retail guys who, man, Bitcoin, it's like it's gonna go huge. That would be us at the beginning. Then it started growing into big rich people, and institutions are starting to pay attention, because where there's alpha, they always want to go there. And so they're getting into Bitcoin, and they're now getting into Bitcoin before the rest of the world is getting into Bitcoin. And they kind of want it to be that way, right? Hold a Bitcoin. I mean, what's Michael Saylor doing? I'm holding as much Bitcoin as I can, because I know where it's going to head, and I want to own most of it. And it's the same way. I mean, I think we also need to cut them some slack. We are still in the early adopter phase, and it takes time to adopt things. I mean, some people early on get it, but for the majority of people, they won't. I mean, until maybe 2030, 2035. And at that point, Bitcoin's super, super mainstream. Like, we're literally all using it. And maybe even indirectly to where we don't even know that we're actually on the Bitcoin blockchain or in the ecosystem. Like, literally things are happening right now, and we're using Bitcoin, but we don't even know about it, Or like, hey, send me some money, and someone actually sends you money. You don't even know how you're getting the money, but it's sent through Bitcoin. Like,
yeah, that's how indirect thing. Yeah, it's this indirect thing, and I think most people will actually we will never have direct access to Bitcoin, but most people will have indirect access to Bitcoin through third parties, and some of them won't even understand what Bitcoin really is. They just use it and don't even notice it. And you, with your sister, I'm sure you've got that question somehow, because you said we are early, and I think we are very, very early. I think people don't get how early we actually are. But you for sure got the question from your sister, like, oh, like we are like at 100K, or like whatever the price was when she got in, and like, oh, it feels so high, it feels so all immature, and we are 16 years into the thing, and 16 years can feel long. How do you make someone understand that we are actually early, and it actually is nothing the thing that we already did now?
Because the acceleration and the growth of the money supply is always going to keep growing. They're always going to keep printing money. And when that happens, you have a couple places to park your money to beat that. And one is real estate, one which comes with, it's great. It's got great tax incentives here and there. You can depreciate against your income, whatever. Cash flow. Then you have, but there's a lot of expenses and a lot of maintenance that comes with it, and a lot of work to maintain it. And then there's the S&P 500 stocks, and then there's metals, I guess, and then there's Bitcoin. And out of all those, Bitcoin is the most scarce, and it has been proven that the network doesn't fail. There's a lot of demand for it. It doesn't even just store your value. You can use it as money by paying someone, right? It's a medium of exchange. And when you look at that, and it doesn't, I mean, it's not even like rocket science. You know, when the countries are printing trillions of dollars, inflation goes up, and people simply, because that's our nature, we put our money in stuff that's scarce because that's happening. Well, where are people going to put most of their money? Bitcoin over the long term. They're going to start shifting money out of all the other assets, out of real estate. We're seeing it right now. Grant Cardone's doing it. And Grant Cardone, you know, it took him a little bit to finally relax and understand Bitcoin. He's like, wait a minute, you know, I am a real estate mogul, but crap, I got to start allocating some of that money into Bitcoin too. So you're seeing that, right? It's shifting into Bitcoin. People who hold stocks are shifting into Bitcoin. People who even held businesses, like MicroStrategy was like a research company and a service provider for stuff. They're allocating their resources into Bitcoin. They're transferring cash into that comes from that business into Bitcoin. What are countries doing? And this is the easiest. I mean, come on. The U.S. is going to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I don't know when, I don't know why, but they're talking about it. And you know the government is always slow at doing things. So if that doesn't ring a bell to you, then I don't know how we're not early. Like, you know, we're doing that. Every country is going to be pouring money into Bitcoin. They're already doing that, and the banks and institutions are pouring in money into Bitcoin. So at some point, I mean, we are early because everyone is preparing themselves for what's to come in the future, which is more of a money printer. Money printer is infinite, and you want to hold what's scarce. And yes, it's at 100,000, but again, you're thinking short term, dude. You know, the debt for the U.S. used to be at 1 trillion. Someone could have said, well, that's a lot. I don't think we want to hire. Then 10 trillion, then 20, then 30 plus. And it's going to keep going, 40, 50, 60. I mean, we're going to get to 100 trillion, dude. I mean, it's eventually, I mean, who's going to stop it? Yeah, it's because the sad thing is we got to this point where the only way to keep the system going is by debasing the currency, because there is no other way. There is no other way.
And it's crazy to think about how fast this goes. And you're like 1 trillion. I think we're now at 37, actually, something along those lines. And you said something interesting about the intuition, because I think everyone truly knows that what a good money is. And we had some stories on the podcast already, but most importantly, when I talk with my young cousins that are like under 10 or like 8 years old or something like that, if I talk to them about money and just ask them, or like, what do you think money is? And what do you think we need it for? They intuitively know it better than most 40-year-old, because I think as a human being, we can learn, we can talk about and think about the first principles very intuitively. We know, oh yeah, like money should hold the value. I should be able to put the money to all my merchants, yeah, it's probably wrong if someone else can print this money and I cannot. And all those very basic things that are very simple for some reason, but are not very simple for people that got educated in traditional financial space, and they learned the fiat system so strong that they're like, oh, this Bitcoin thing all of a sudden doesn't make sense. No, actually, that what you learned didn't make sense, but you've really been trained nicely in this fiat system that you think 2% inflation is a good thing, which I still cannot comprehend how we got people to accept that. Like that's unreal for me.
Yeah, it is. There was a moment that I was using AI, ChatGPT. I don't know. I was on a trip with my wife's, like, they went on, they gave them like really nice trips, but she quit her job. She quit her job because, again, this money system, it was affecting her too, because it was with real estate and they're very incentive. There's just incentives on like, let's quick. But anyway, I was asking ChatGPT, you know what? I want to take again, it goes back to thinking outside the box, which you have to be open about it. Like we'd look at school, and this is my opinion, okay? My opinion. I mean, people can, but I think the school system, while it can be great in general terms, it does not create opportunity for kids to think outside the box. And I was doing research. I was like, you know what, chat, please, can you show me, like, this is my theory. Please dig deep into this and tell me and explain. Like, when you are in the school system, was it created to make us basically just people who agree to things? And, if you think about how the structure of school is, you go in at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., you leave at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. every single day. You have your lunch break at this specific time. You always have to ask for permission to do anything and everything. There's a very specific curriculum that you have to follow. And guess who provides that curriculum? Who does? The government.
The government, yeah.
The government. Okay. And we already know as Bitcoiners that government's pretty bad about certain things. And so it quite literally, the system was created initially, and it was revamped in the Industrial Revolution around that time to make us and train us to be workers from an early age. You need to get used to waking up early, go to your school, sit down, learn to do all these chores, go back home at 3, 4 p.m. So, and it still is that. And it's a Monday through Friday thing. Right? It's not a Monday through Tuesday or Monday through Wednesday. It's 5 days a week. You have to come to school, right? And it's basically not saying it was bad, I mean, if I'm like, I play video games, okay, and I have to run my economy and do this and that, and have certain people do certain tasks for the economy to grow. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just interesting how we're talking about education and how at the core, there's a reason why a lot of people don't think outside the box, and a reason why people can't grasp different concepts. And it's because they've been trained since they were literally 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds to follow this specific linear path, not multi-level path, which is required to expand your horizon, your understanding of things,
I love that because it shows that I think we get born with the horizon and actually get the horizon kind of trained out of you. Yeah. As a young human being, you have so many questions. You explore the world. You have a very intuitive understanding of things, and you just want to explore. You have questions. You're like very curious person, and then all of a sudden, like, no, sit down. Don't speak up and be there for a certain period of time. And I was not a lot in school. I held a record for the most hours not being in school in my graduation year.
That's funny.
I'm very proud of that. I had almost every other week a talk with the head of my class, the head of the department, and the head of the school. Because of that, I'm very lucky that the head of the department, so that the guy in between the head of the class and the head of the school, was actually very practical. And he's like, hey, you are a great student. Like you have good marks. Like you're in the best 20% of your class, but you're never in your class. Now I'm like, yeah, because I rather learn on my own. Like I rather just like, learn and just like do the test. And he's like, as long as you have good grades, like I won't do anything. And he was actually the guy that had the decision. But through that lens, I learned how massive the social pressure is in getting people to just show up and not learn. Like I was a good student. I had good grades. I didn't fail anything. I mean, I was not great, but like I was in the middle. I was better than middle. And this with hundreds of hours of not showing up every year to school. And this is why I explored other things and all the things, but that's not the point. The point was I got to know how hard the system kind of works on someone to get people in. Like I had so many countless conversations with the head of my class, like, oh, what's up, Robin? Like, why are you not in school? Do you have troubles at home? No, like I like to do other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and it's inherently wrong. Like I think like and then also people in the career later on, they have this whole like per hour basis and all those things. Like I'm a very big fan of like getting paid for the value that they bring, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, right. No, it is interesting. I mean, it's all connected because, again, we're all humans using a protocol created by humans, and even within the way that Satoshi Nakamoto created the protocol, I mean, it there's all sorts of hues and hints of human behavior. It's basically shaping human behavior to create the money system, shaped around that, right? And what's that human behavior? Well, we need something scarce that humans like to hold because humans like holding scarcity, and we need to focus on maybe more load time preference. Humans need to focus on, just basically focusing more on the future, not so much on the present. It's just interesting, how it all connects. Education, the psychology of money, the way that we view things, and how hard it is to accept other people's opinions on, like, hey, maybe you should look into Bitcoin. Maybe expand your headspace a little bit to see how Bitcoin can help you. And that's why we're doing this, the podcast, and why we're both in the Bitcoin industry.
I do love the watches from Coin Vigilante, but today I have a very special message, not from me, but from the CEO himself, Carlos from Coin Vigilante. Let's hear him.
To all the Robin Seyr podcast community, I'm Carlos Estrada from Coin Vigilante, and we're sponsors of the show, and we're going to give you a very special discount exclusive to you, 10% off your order at coinvigilante.com when you use Robin at checkout. We have really nice watches that you guys can buy right now for 10%. This is a transparency edition, beautiful watch. These watches are worn in over 55 countries and counting. This discount is just for you, exclusive to the Robin Seyr podcast. We have limited editions, we have limited productions. These watches come in very nice packaging, boxing material, and they are collector's item for Bitcoiners only. Enjoy the discount. Thanks for supporting the show and Coin Vigilante.
The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use simplemining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io. Tell them you come from Robin and let's mine Bitcoin together. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed seed phrase onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. And we have right now a summer sale going on for 15% off. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today for $186. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need.
And I want to talk a little bit about, because you have a business that is not only in for Bitcoin, but also like you hold Bitcoin, you're getting paid in Bitcoin, and this is super interesting because we see in real life people that actually use Bitcoin on a day-to-day. And I want to talk a little bit about the impacts that has it on your business. Maybe even like if you see and getting the acceptance of someone paying things in Bitcoin, if you see there's like a positive trend towards that. Because I did not spend any of my Bitcoin like 1.5 years ago. Now I pay 2 of my freelancers every single month directly in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We do only things in Bitcoin. I remember that we first tried it the Fiat route, and then you're like, oh, why don't we just do it in Bitcoin?
It's terrible. The Fiat route is terrible. In fact, I was just paying one of my Swiss suppliers yesterday, sending a wire transfer. I have to match all these, the SWIFT code and the bank and, all that. And I send the money, and then I get a notification that, it was rejected, because they think that there's potential of like some fraudulent activity. So they're afraid that I'm sending the money out to someone who's going to just steal it. And then they said, please call the bank, so we can clarify things, whatever. So then I wasting 45 minutes of my day, calling, and they're asking questions, and I get it. That is maybe one of the pros. I guess call it a pro of a financial institution. They're trying to protect their clients, but there's so much friction involved. And with Bitcoin, it's from point A to B. All you got to give me is your receive address, and I just plug it in, and boom, money is sent. No intermediary. No one can stop it. It's really nice. Power to the individual on a financial level, right? Pretty sweet. I love that. So pretty neat. A lot of people say don't spend your Bitcoin, or we don't like to spend it. Those are just the loud people speaking on X. There's so many people who pay with Bitcoin, and it's nice. I mean, to me, when I pay with Bitcoin, I'm using the money system, the new money system that exists for us to be able to take a part in, which I'm not using the banking system anymore to pay you. I'm using the Bitcoin system. I'm taking power away from the institutions right there and bringing power back to me. Now, I still pay other people with banks, bank transfers and whatever. But what's cool is to have the alternative and the option. And at Coin Vigilante, we take that option seriously. We've been accepting Bitcoin ever since we created Coin Vigilante in 2021. And now look back and look at all the Bitcoin we've accumulated since back then, and look at the purchasing power that's been going up because we've held it in our balance sheet. That's great. It's like a whole new avenue of increasing the purchasing power of a company. Not only do you have to sell products and make a profit on those products, but with the Bitcoin that's on your balance sheet, I mean, it just goes up in value. And now you're killing it. I mean, I'm talking like any business that holds Bitcoin in their balance sheet. This is why, like in the stock market, all these companies, they're going up if they hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet, because Bitcoin going up is almost guaranteed throughout time. And that means that business is going to be more financially healthy than any other business in the stock market who does not have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. It makes sense. It's not, it's not rocket science. And so it's pretty sweet. I mean, we went to the Bitcoin conference, first time we went to the Bitcoin conference, incredible success, and so many Bitcoiners out there who paid directly with Bitcoin. And it's cool, man. I'm saving credit card fees. It gets directly deposited to my account on my wallet. You know, I don't have to wait for the bank to wait 1 to 3 business days for that money to get to me. I have it, goes up in value. I'm adding to my Bitcoin stockpile. You know, it's sweet. And I still don't understand too much and haven't gone too deep into how Lightning works. I know that you do lose some, I guess, decentralization throughout the payment rail, but tons of people paid with Lightning at the end of the day. And it was cool. It was just cool to see. I mean, I have not accepted that many Lightning payments ever. And people are doing it. I mean, people can shop on coinvigilante.com and pay with Bitcoin, and it works.
And that's a great thing. People always people tell me in the comments like, "Oh, Bitcoin will never be a medium of exchange," and I'm like, "What are you talking? Like, it already is.
It already is.
We already use it as a
Yeah.
I earn most of the money as I got now all my sponsors. Yeah, starting from September, I no longer have any sponsor that doesn't pay me in Bitcoin directly. It's
Yeah.
like I've converted now all my sponsors to pay me only in
Right.
Bitcoin. So the only source of fiat income is like YouTube and Twitter.
And you know what's
like,
cool now is that me as a business, I tell people, I'm like, hey, if I'm sending you money, I'm only sending it in Bitcoin. And then if they don't, even if they don't like it or they don't even know how to, they have to figure out how to accept it. Do you want my money or not? You know, and it's just easier to me. And then it's the same thing with you. Like, you know, like, hey, you got to pay me in Bitcoin. And now that's an option. That's a valid thing to say to a client. And they have to figure it out. Well, what do I have to do now? Well, the first thing they're going to have to do is probably get Coinbase or some other, you know, some sort of institution that's able to connect to their bank, you know, and then they have to learn, you know. So I think little by little, that in itself, the fact that, you know, business transactions now are done in Bitcoin is going to force a lot more adoption than we think. And what are you? I'm curious, you know, because you're talking to Bitcoiners every day for a living, really. Like, where are we seeing Bitcoin in terms of payments? I mean, are we going to see this more of a thing, or are we going to see the route of like people are like, don't forget about it. You know, we're not going to pay in Bitcoin. It's just all going to be a thing we hold in a balance sheet, and that's it. It's just simply a store of value.
I think there's 2 things going on. The first thing is it takes a long time. Like the thing that you are doing, the thing that I'm doing is being on the forefront of the medium of exchange phase of Bitcoin. We are already accepting Bitcoin and paying in Bitcoin, and we are fighting on a level where most people won't be in even 5 to 10 years. So this medium of exchange phase will be coming very, very late. So when we think about why we started accepting Bitcoin and paying in Bitcoin, for me personally, is I got the point where all my money is in Bitcoin. I dropped all stocks. I was like, I have my business and I have my Bitcoin. That's it. And maybe down the road, a house, like I'm still debating if that's a good decision or not, like going back and forth on that. I see the house prices crashing in Bitcoin. I'm like, probably a bad decision. But overall, I got everything into Bitcoin. And then you're like, okay, but why do I have to always keep getting those 1% exchange fees eaten away? Like I always have to like have fiat, and then like there's a fee from fiat to Bitcoin. I have to transfer it, then there's another transaction fees. It would be just so much. So like if you, for example, would pay me in fiat, I will get it in fiat. Probably have to pay like some fee because you're in America and I'm in Europe. Then I have to get it transacted to my exchange. There I have to pay a fee to get it to Bitcoin. Then I have to pay a transaction fee to get it to my wallet. And it's just so much better if it just shows up in the wallet directly. Mm-hmm. So I think we need more people to get very seriously on the store of value phase to even consider the medium of exchange side of things. And then the question of like the second part of it, how it will look up. I just think we will use a lot of apps and services and things that make it easy for people to transact in Bitcoin. So most people won't really know that they're using. They have some credit card where Bitcoin is the back end of it, and it's Apple Pay, and it's like, ding, I paid it, and it's shows up. Then the next step is interesting. If we're ever getting to a Bitcoin unit of account standard where people say like, oh, I paid 20 Satoshis for my burger. Like that probably takes another like decades to come.
Yeah, I think
Further down
that's
the
gonna
road.
take a while. Yeah, I mean, because I've thought about that too, and I'm like, man, like how long is that gonna take? Because I just can't see it, and it's just it's not that it's not gonna happen, but it's so hard for me to just visualize that, because that means that literally Bitcoin is the world currency, you know. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes that people that are on the forefront of fighting for mean exchange adoption, like we are exchanging value only in Bitcoin. We are denominating in, I think we use euros, but like most do either dollars or euros. And we're not setting a fixed amount in Satoshis. And I've not done this with anyone because it's just not practical at that moment. Bitcoin needs to be a lot more stable to say, hey, I pay you a fixed amount in Satoshis and not a fixed amount in euros, and then just transfer it in Bitcoin. So those things take time, but I think it will be great.
It would have to be the world reserve currency. I mean, there's no other way for that to happen. I mean, there quite literally is not. I think we still got time, which again offers the upside potential for those who are in right now. But yeah, it's interesting, man. I'm still pushing Bitcoin adoption, and it's just trying to get as many people to get in, and you just gotta do it one watch at a time, one podcast at a time.
I love it. I have one thing that I forgot to ask you, when you talked about the theory on with Ray Dalio, because there's this very popular meme where you see this things with Ray Dalio, and instead of China coming up, there's Bitcoin coming up.
Yeah.
How do you think his theory is kind of influenced by the awakening of Bitcoin, by the thing that all of a sudden now we have another force that isn't a nation state coming up in the currency wars?
Yeah, I think initially we wasn't too open to Bitcoin, but when the market tells you that something's important, you have to shift your thinking. And I think he's had to reshape a little bit of his approach as a new money and monetary system is coming up, which is Bitcoin. And to me, I actually think like Bitcoin is like a gift brought down from heaven, because if we did not have Bitcoin right now, then probably things would be a lot more violent out in the streets. I mean, or in the world, in other places, because where the heck else are you going to store your money? If we didn't have that pristine store of value, as inflation just keeps increasing, and I mean it's just not, And so to me, I think it's interesting because I think it's having Bitcoin as an option is actually being the cushion to the world financial system kind of collapsing, and to people's savings accounts being eroded to oblivion. I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm curious to see what happens, but and I'm also very curious to see what happens as the situation continues to get worse. As more trillions get out into the system. Now that we're already a record high debt. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to people out there. I don't. I see these doom stories from him that were like it could get really bad, but I don't know.
There's this theory, and I really like it, that because we have an exit wealth, the thing is no longer as bad. So, for example, if you have in the whole world only one social media platform and it can censor anything, and they are starting to really push an agenda. This is really bad if there's no alternative social media platform. But if there is one social media platform that gives an alternative to it, so where people can flee towards if they get mistreated on the one platform, all of a sudden it gets way better. The same way as Twitter and X and well for Facebook. And we talked about it, I think, before we started recording, how Facebook got better in terms of their Bitcoin regulations. Yeah. And I do like that, where Bitcoin actually makes those trillions of debt less scary, because now we are building an alternative system that we can rely on if everything breaks down.
Yeah, no, I think you have a good point there, and like I said, we agree. I agree on that. I mean, that alternative system is what's helping us stay afloat, above water. Now we just got to let people know. I mean, we got to keep pushing that adoption. And we're getting there a little bit.
In terms of adoption, I have one more question to this medium of exchange side of things. I don't know if you do like those analytics on that, but do you see actually an increase of people are spending in Bitcoin versus in fiat? I think we last talked about like what kind of the ratio is. Do you see there's any impact of like more and more people actually wanting to pay, or is it so small, the difference, that it really doesn't matter?
So funny enough, in person is where people like to pay with Bitcoin more. In person. I think there's still a big gap. I mean, most people still pay in fiat. It's just kind of, sometimes it's even easier for them to do. But we're still seeing an increase. So we're seeing more Bitcoin payments than we have before. So I would say I can't tell you a percentage, but it's definitely been increasing year over year. And what's cool is in person again, which means we got to keep showing up to these Bitcoin conferences.
Yeah, they are amazing. I'm a big fan of conferences. I was actually kind of against them before I went. So this was almost 3 years ago. But I love going to Bitcoin conferences because you meet all the people that you interact only online. How's been actually your I know you go on the booth there, so like you see most of the booth thing. But how's your experience on the conference overall?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, first time we actually go to a huge conference like that. We've done little ones like at River Financial System, like River.
Of course, the exchange.
Yeah, so they're in Columbus, so we're pretty close to them, and we've been there. But man, there's just, to see the amount of Bitcoiners out there who are part of the system is crazy. I mean, we had a great success. A lot of Bitcoiners just simply don't know about Coin Vigilante. We're a Bitcoin watch company that creates Bitcoin timepieces to carry a meaning for those who wear them. And they're worn in over 50 countries. But for Bitcoiners to actually see them in person, you just get a different connection at that point with them. And they have a different connection. They're like, wow, you guys are legit. You're here. We see you on Twitter and X and all that. But like, to see you guys here, like, a whole new legitimacy is created. So, I mean, if you're a Bitcoiner out there, you're trying to build relationships, network, and actually get things done, you probably want to do it in person, I would say. We're going to be there next year again. I'm glad it's at Vegas again, so I don't have to be strategizing and thinking about other places to go to. But we're also going to be at Bitcoin Mina in Abu Dhabi this year, so that's going to be nice. We'll see what kind of Bitcoiners and what kind of crowd we're going to get there, but I'm excited about that. It's just cool. I just like being in that kind of, you're kind of just, you're at the Bitcoin party, basically.
It's an in-person Twitter gathering.
Yeah. Yeah. And my gosh, I mean, I swear you are tall, dude. I mean, we take a picture, like, basically I would be here and you'd be like above that screen. You wouldn't even see your face. It's like, it's crazy. So this dude's tall, and it was cool to see you also connect with your crowd too, because a lot of people were meeting you there. That's pretty sweet.
It was really cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in MENA again. And I hope we just both go more to conferences and we see each other, because it's so funny because you see those Bitcoiner friends. Oh yeah, I see you in Vegas, then in Abu Dhabi, and then I see you in Amsterdam, and then I see you in El Salvador. That's kind of the flow of Bitcoiner relationships.
You should try to go to the Max and Stacy Invitational this year.
You will be there too?
Yep. Are you gonna be there?
I probably will be there, because are you sponsoring again there?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna provide the watches for the winners for first, second, and third place, like last year.
I guess I have to be there then, because you and Microseed are like two of my most important partners. Actually, yep. I would say so. Are there then I don't have an excuse anymore. And I love Max. I had Max on the podcast. He was great. And it's a. And I get into golf now. Daniel Daniel White, he got me into golf, and I'm now playing a little bit.
You should actually play in the tournament. That'd be awesome.
But one more topic I wanted to get into, because you have a company that has a treasury in Bitcoin. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin treasury companies and on companies in general adopting Bitcoin?
I think they're fine. I mean, I think what makes sense for treasury companies that are significantly bigger, exponentially bigger than us, is that it allows other big financial institutions to get Bitcoin exposure without having to buy Bitcoin itself. That's where those stocks, that's why they go up so much. So, they get all these inflows from companies who just don't want to buy the Bitcoin themselves. And so it's pretty neat. I think Strategy, all these products that they're coming out with that is increasing alpha. I think what's going to be, because I think we're definitely going to see a 50 to 60 to 70% correction at some point next year. What's going to happen is going to be all these treasury companies flipping upside down with their big Bitcoin holdings and offering all this percentage returns on all their other products. Well, you can't do that once the price of Bitcoin drops that much. And then they're going to be forced to sell their Bitcoin, which is going to increase a lot of selling pressure. I don't know. I mean, I'm not talking about, obviously things are going great. A lot of adoption. Maybe we don't see a huge drop, but I do see some sort of, just like we've seen an amazing upside with the treasury companies, I think we're also going to see a downside. And it's fine because it's just we're just going to mature the market more. There's going to be more Bitcoin in the market. More people are going to, invest in Bitcoin over the course of time. And, we're going to be on our path to 1 million, but I don't know. I mean, have you ever thought about that scenario?
It's interesting with the treasury companies because, I think Safedin also mentioned that in the latest thing that he posted is what happens to all the treasury companies if we have another crash down. And I'm fairly certain we will have that. Like, there's a possibility, of course, that we won't have a crash over 20% because it just gets bought up and we have more of the sideways walking. But there's a lot of treasury companies now coming in that are not as solid as Strategy. Like, I think Strategy will be fine. The bigger ones will be fine. They're doing a great job. They are prepared for Bitcoin going down 80%, 90%, and they will live through this. And maybe even profit from that. I think Strategy and many of those products actually live from the volatility, and actually can benefit from the volatility more than if it just goes up boringly. But there are a lot of companies, I think, that probably won't be as structured, and there might be the thing where a lot of those treasury companies, I'm talking those who do fiat games, not just Bitcoin. Like, if you're just a company and buying Bitcoin, like, you won't be affected. But if you're buying Bitcoin with a lot of leverage or some fiat products, then you might have a hard time if you don't prepare for the situation of Bitcoin going down 50, 60, 70, 80%.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to see what happens, but I mean, I've been through basically 3 cycles now, and I've seen how the unthinkable happens all the time, and so we'll see. I think people just need to tread carefully. I understand that we've reached a lot of big institutional adoption, but we've still seen 30% corrections in this cycle, and we've seen huge exchanges like FTX and a couple of those things who we thought were amazing and legit and this and that, flip and flop. You know what I mean? So it's like these things happen. I don't know, but I think they're cool. I think it's good. I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a shift in how companies store their value. It's either cash, a melting ice cube, like Saylor says, or we put in Bitcoin and hold your purchasing power, and it's for the benefit of all the stockholders.
I think that's very true. And I have one question that I asked each and every one of my returning guests, actually. And the question is, what have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance?
Outside of Bitcoin?
Yes.
Boy, I mean, you're asking a tough question. I came with my Bitcoin mind ready today. I think
usually
it's not more learning, it's just more research I've done about AI. We talked about it last time. I think I'm just curious to see where AI fits in our lifestyles even next year, man, because it's moving so fast. And how robotics and robots are going to play a role. Because I'm not kidding, robots are going to be out in the street walking around with us. And they're going to be in our homes. Like, it sounds weird, dude, but all these movies that we've seen in the past, they like always come true, man. Like iRobot, did you see that movie?
Yes, I think
with
Will Smith, yeah.
Like, dude, the same thing's going to happen. And it's like these AI, and you've seen it. I mean, Trump speaks about how much we're going to invest in AI, and it's because it's a market and a technology that can't be ignored. When you can never fight against technology, just like the banks. Like, you can't fight against Bitcoin. You can't. It's a better technology for a payment system or for money. It's the same thing with AI, and I'm curious to see how AI plays a role with Bitcoin. And how it will define and reshape the financial system, because AI is going to take a lot of jobs. I don't care what people say. You're like, AI is a tool and, whatever. No, AI is going to literally take a lot of jobs. A lot. And the government's going to have to come up with ways to subsidize, or basically to create some sort of universal basic income. I think that's for sure going to happen at some point. Maybe not in 5 years, like maybe 10, 15, because how are you going to keep these people alive when the AI is performing the jobs for all these people? Now, I do think AI and robotics is going to make things a little bit more productive and easier for humans as a whole, because it's going to increase productivity. I think what it's going to do also, robotics and AI, is going to decrease the cost of goods out there, because it's going to make everything more efficient to produce. And I think we're going to be living in maybe even a deflationary system for production at some point too, which is interesting. But I don't know. I don't know how much you've thought into it.
I have one thought on that with technology, and AI might be a little bit different. But when you think about a farm, there was a time in history where 80% of people worked on farms, and when the tractor comes, he replaces like 50 people. Like the same work that one guy can do with a tractor is previously done by, like, I don't know, 20 people, 30 people, whatever the amount is, but a lot of people to replace one tractor. And then when you think about basically Bitcoin or the AI, even like AI, let's stick with AI. I can now do things way more effectively way cheaper and in a better quality than I can do it without AI already. And when we think about that in 5 years, 10 years time, AI will be so good that it can basically do everything. And what are we humans gonna do? I think we will figure something out.
Yeah,
And
well,
I think
you know who the people who will benefit from this are going to be the creative people that know how to use the AI to perform. Like if you're a business owner and your bread and butter is knowing how to use AI to make your business better, you're going to be rocking. Like you will be rocking. Now, I'm curious as to what the next part of your story is going to be. Like humans will figure it out and find some other things to maybe, I guess, work on. But what are those jobs going to be? Like that's what I'm wondering. Like
then that's where probably the tractor story is different from AI, because the tractor can only do so much, and you still need a lot of workers there. And AI can be the manager, can be the creative outlet, can do all of that, and physical. I think robotics is something not talked about enough. I think we will have nurses that are doctors, nurses that are robotic, and then you're like, okay, what will we do? And I just think that hopefully we will get to the point where we live in an abundant system where we have enough money on an individual scale. Like globally, we always have enough money. Like, money is an finite thing. But I do think that it will be very fascinating to watch. And this is where it kind of a little bit breaks down the comparison to a tractor, because AI can do so much more. And I like also where you're going, because I do think that you won't be replaced by someone. You won't be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by someone using AI. Like AI will, a guy and the AI will replace a team of 5 people or a team of 10 people and do the same work, basically.
I just saw someone who owns a company. I don't know who, but he already fired 287 employees from his company because he's just going to have a robust AI system that he built just do all the tasks that they can perform. And it's just like all these customer service line people, like what AI can already answer my questions. I speak to the AI right now. Like, like it can talk to you. So it's like, it's going to replace those guys. But I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I truly think that some sort of universal basic income is going to have to be put in effect, because it's either that or you have a ton, like a buttload of angry people on the streets. Like, this robot just took my job at the restaurant. I was cleaning dishes and now I can't clean dishes because a robot cleans dishes. I'm pissed, and I don't have the education to get a job somewhere else, or like bartender, okay, ready? I went to this thing. It's called like revolving sushi thing. Have you heard about that?
I know running sushi.
Revolving sushi. Okay, so it's a restaurant here, right down the road from where I am. And it's basically you sit down and there's literally like a path where a train just drives through every booth. So it's all connected. The seating area is set up to where there's just like a train carrying food. And as soon as you pull the food, and it's all different plates of food, sushi, soups, this and that. The moment you pull it, based on the weight, or I don't know what, I don't even know, it charges you that amount. And you just keep pulling food, $4, $5, $10, here. And then if you want to order something custom and special, you just order on a screen, boom, boom, boom. And then what happens is this robot comes out like rolling, like it just rolls into your booth in like 5 minutes after you order, and it brings you your food. Like it just kind of like bumps into your like seat. And it says on the screen, please take your food. Okay. Never dealt with a human. Unless there was an issue, like, hey, wrong order, whatever. But dude, the food comes to you, a robot brings you the food. Like, what? And that's where things are going to go in a couple places. And this is where I really do think universal basic income is going to happen. And honestly, like you said, but this goes back to you. Everyone will have money. Okay, but how much? Right? And maybe life will be a little better because we just don't have to do the work. We don't have to work, maybe, I guess, terrible hours all the time to make some sort of basic income. And things are good. And then maybe this allows the human mind to expand beyond just, think about it. I'm telling you, this is weird. This is crazy. Right now, I'm focused. Man, I got to get to work at 9. I got this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do. It's very task-oriented, boom, 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 to where our mind doesn't have time to just sit down and let's expand our horizon on what we can think about besides just simple tasks I got to do every day. And that could open a whole realm of more human productivity, more human creativity, more art, more, I don't know. It's weird. It could be crazy, man.
Culture and creativity. That's the thing. Yeah. That's amazing. I think it will bring a lot of good things. I'm very optimistic always.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems scary, at the beginning, but I think it has potential to be incredible.
I do think so too. But yeah, as you know, that's such an interesting topic when we think about AI and the impact of it, because you already see it right now, and you just go out and say like, okay, what is it looking like in 10 years? If you just use the trends that are already there in 10 years times, like that's kind of fascinating for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, of course.
When we talk, we have an end routine in the podcast, as you know, where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, are you in Bitcoin more for the store of value aspect or the freedom principles?
Initially, freedom principles. Now shifting a little bit more into the store of value. Yeah.
That's interesting. I thought you will say the opposite.
No, because think about it. When I first got into Bitcoin, I was in college and I was like, man, something's not right about this system. Like, just something just smells fishy. And I want to be able to be a part of this new system coming up. And I think, do you think in 2017 when Bitcoin was at like 3,000 and 5,000 that I would know that it was going to be a store of value? No. So what got me into it was, man, this is money I control. And holy crap, I can send it to people, and man, no bank. Like, that was like fascinating to me. Now, as it has developed, I still have those core beliefs, obviously. But now that I have a family, now that I have a kid, you start thinking, man, yeah, I need safety, and I need Bitcoin as my store of value, as my safety net.
I love that. It's very realistic, because a lot of people would just say like, oh, freedom principles, but the store of value aspect is amazing. I just talked about that in a few episodes ago, where I don't really need right now the freedom principles outside of like sending people money across the world, and even that could be achieved. Like, nothing would like stop us from doing that. It's just like takes more money to actually make a fiat transaction than a Bitcoin transactions, and a little bit more hurdle in KYC. But actually, the major advantage I get from Bitcoin right now, because I live in Austria, where the bank system works and where the government works, the major advantage is just store of value. And the freedom aspects of it are probably more seen in Africa or maybe in Ukraine, when people fled outside of the country. Like, this is where you can see the freedom aspect. And then it's like, it's good to have the freedom aspect, even if you don't know it, even if you don't use it right now. Right. But I love the answer.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm thinking.
Really cool. Before I let you go, where can people find you, and where can people find Coin Vigilante?
Yeah, just look up Coin Vigilante on anywhere. On Google, Facebook, Instagram, X, not YouTube, but anywhere. And you'll be able to find us. If you're looking, we're obviously sponsors of the show. And we are giving a 10% discount to the Robin Seyr podcast community. So use that. Okay. Use discount code Robin at checkout, and then just browse through our amazing Bitcoin watches that we have. We don't have too many now because mostly they're sold out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man, Carlos, for being on. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye.
This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.